Brutal.
This is really brutal.
This is brutal with double O instead of a
What
U.
was more brutal was 1800 crores of capex and 55,000 crores of.
आज अल्ट्राटेक ऊपर है नहीं
नहीं
आज भी नीचे
आज कॉल है ना उसका इवनिंग में मार्केट में करना चाहिए था
Call
live
schedule
we are
to-
live
Okay.
we are live
Welcome back, Hersh.
Thank you, sir. Sirs.
How's the feeling?
It's awesome.
You like the markets being red?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Love it. Always a good time to buy. But
1.6%.
1.6 now on the Nifty.
Nifty IT down 4%.
4% and small cap down 3 plus.
3 plus.
Broader markets in some.
This is not good.
नीरज
यार.
सर क्या हो रहा है
No, this is.
ये पेन कहाँ से आ रहा है और कहाँ तक जाएगा
देखो आज तो चाइना में भी पेन है. So ये पेन आ रहा है US से, the Trump tariffs, right? And if March 4th is the date, right, and he's saying this, then I think as Abhay Agarwal of Piper Serica put out in his tweet very well that Donald Trump has now gone ahead and put out a hanging sword on world trade. And until that clarity comes in, very difficult for anybody to find confidence, right? Because these are moving targets. You don't know. Suddenly from April 2nd to March 4th, what happens when? It's very, very difficult to pencil in. So right now though, it's pain across the world. It's not even China, which has been actually an outperformer in the recent past, down about 1.5%, 2% today. So it is wobbly, but we did the math. And as per the math, we are at 18.2 times 1 year forward.
1 year forward
Almost at the long-term average.
But this is Nifty 50.
Nifty 50.
yeah.
So broader markets are looking slightly different.
So-
But यार मैं बताऊँ ये broader markets का ना जो
no, broader market छोड़ दो आपने जो मैथ किया मैं एक नंबर मैं भी देता हूँ
दो
I was waiting for this.
और नंबर ये है कि हम फॉरेन फ्लोज की बात करते हैं तो MSCI emerging मार्केट की बात कर रहे हैं आई थिंक इन लास्ट जून जुलाई we had a weightage of nearly 22% plus on the EM emerging market index. Today's latest number is 16.9%, 5%, only 4% fall, nearly 3.5% fall, which has happened. China, which was at 23, is now at 31. Taiwan, which was around 14 odd, is at 18. So what you said कि China गिरा है पर रिलेटिवली लोअर गिरा है और चाइना हैज बीन और
रैंक
आउटपरफॉर्मर वो हो रहा है क्योंकि मार्केट कैप मींस वेटेज उसका बड़ा है बाय नीयरली 8 परसेंटेज पॉइंट्स एंड जितना भी इंडिया का जो आउटफ्लो हो रहा है इट्स नाउ गोइंग टू चाइना ताइवान एंड स्पेशली लास्ट 1 मंथ में डीप सीक के बाद ये दिस इज समथिंग विच वी आर सीइंग विच इज हैपनिंग एंड what is worse is that Brazil and Korea are also have also seen the weights going up, and so the flows are going to those emerging market countries. So the passive funds which we are talking about, it's now going out of India and reallocating themselves in all other emerging markets. That's something which is much more painful because that money is not going to come immediately here. I mean, unless there is a trigger for now. For the Indian markets,
and those markets are relatively cheaper also.
Yes,
in that sense. So,
in that sense.
so
Brazil has
for it
been-
to come back, India will really have to make a very strong case.
The strongest growth है. Brazil growth, etc. growth of that is not 6.5 odd, right? So therefore, दो चीज़ एक तो मैं बोलूँगा कि if our growth were to come back, see, we got to realize that I think albeit delayed, but the Reserve Bank, the government realized that growth was a problem. They have now put the steps to try and arrest that. It doesn't get arrested in a hurry. But the market discounts things 6 months out.
It will take 6 months लगेगा, right?
No, the market discounts 6 months out. So if indeed the growth print is okay right now and Q 6.2 expected है, let's assume comes in 6.2, 6.3. If Q4 also comes okay, if corporate commodity last 15 days of March is okay, then you can accuse me that you are bullish or you are optimistic perennially, and I would have been completely wrong if I was making this argument with Nifty at 26,200. Now with 18 times 20 to 200, right, and stuff like that, there is merit in trying to. ये तो पता है कि खराब है, इसके लिए हम इतना गिरा है मार्केट, आगे क्या?
But Niraj, if you look at what was triggering this fall, what began as a trigger for the fall was the consumption,
Right.
especially urban consumption. And I was looking at some of the numbers that came out, and this is the RBI figures which came out, right? Credit card numbers. It's fallen sequentially as well as fallen year on year, 11% fall also. And so it basically means that there is a fall in consumption, especially linked to those credit cards, which is there. Quick commerce ho gaya, e-commerce ho gaya, food delivery ho gaya, restaurants ho gaya.
It's also, sir, it's also a little bit to do with the fact that they're tapering down on some certain pockets of banks or lenders are tapering down on lending. In that segment.
I get that, but that should reflect in the additions of credit card, right?
That's
Where again it's falling, but it's not. It's still a growth, it's a moderated growth of credit card additions, which is there. I'm talking about consumption. In fact, if you look at the 30-day spend, I think that's one of the metrics which RBI uses. Even there, the consumption have fallen, and there's also an increase in outstanding beyond 30 days, which basically people are borrowing and not able to pay within 30 days, so they're moving to beyond. So that pain is still there in that. So जब तक ये turnaround नहीं होने वाला है, वो I think this is going to be a issue which will be there for consumption.
Let me try and come in here. So first off, viewers, please start sending in queries. We'll start taking them very, very shortly. But one question for you, Niraj sir, is that so Sajeet sir is suggesting consumption isn't coming back. You are suggesting one of the levers will be consumption, which will spur or aid the market going forward. Say, let's assume for the moment that consumption does come back. What are the other dark clouds which are there? Global growth, US not looking particularly bright. Is that a concern at all? And what would the impact on our markets be of that, in your view? Rates are going to be higher for longer. Your US 10-year continues to be at 4.25, which has come off from the highs but still remains quite elevated for a risk-free rate. Are those at all factors that you would look out for?
मैं बताऊं बड़ा twisted है
18 times.
but मैं बताऊं बड़ा twisted है I'll tell you why.
इसमें दो चीज और ऐड कर लो. China का response to the US tariff hasn't come into play. And आपका Japanese yen जो है, it's formed up to around 148
no,
or
but,
so.
But let's try and take them one by one. But the reason I say bada twisted है, if the US growth is coming off, very difficult to foresee unless we then say कि US is going into stagflation, कि rates high होंगे. Inflation could come down ये 3-4 महीने में पता नहीं है. But the limited point is this: if the US actually doesn't do well, and if the rates get cut per se, it's net positive for flows into countries like India. So therefore, that might actually not be bad news. So that is part one, right? So therefore, I'll take that. कि हाँ चलो ठीक है. We've enjoyed 24 or 26 months of US exceptionalism. It's time other countries get their share. So no problem. So I think I'll look at it that way. First there. And two, as Sajeet said, China response. Now if China response is bad and if there is a full-blown tariff war, then everybody will get trampled. So that is an issue. But अभी वो imponderable है.
Means, I don't think if Canada responds, which they are threatening to respond, and Mexico responds, is going to have much of an impact. But China responds, that will be a global trade war which is going to come in and which will impact us, which could be inflationary for us as well in some way, in that sense. अगर ऐसा होता है तो. But my point is that China का क्या है, we don't know. Yesterday we saw Chinese government trying to infuse for $55 billion into state-owned banks. That's a stimulus which they are trying to do to create, enough liquidity and credit growth within the system. But internationally, it's going to be another issue. So there's another 1 month of uncertainty which is coming in, because April 1st or 2nd there's another list of reciprocal tariffs which will be put out. And I think that 1 month is going to be a big issue for many of the countries.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I don't know if this is a factor, and probably again trying to play devil's advocate, would the fact that generally when the pendulum swings and the negative news build up is over a prolonged period of time, the negative sentiment will carry forward for a few months. So when the pendulum swings, while we are at average at this point, but the pendulum's momentum is swinging in the negative, and therefore do you believe that we will swing more towards the negative side than would ideally be warranted? I'm not saying that it is.
You're right.
I'm not saying that we are not at sane valuations now, but I'm saying that there is a case that it could swing further.
So
Given the negative momentum. That's point number one.
Given the momentum.
Sorry, I want to complete. Second is that retail investors, there are a lot of them, and we at the NDTV Profit Conclave, we spoke to various people, right? And we had S. Narayan also come when he spoke about it. What he said was that the sentiment that retail investors are carrying, a lot of them being first-time investors, over 50% being first-time investors, never seen a cycle like this where 4 months there's been so much of pain. How will they react and respond? And generally, when you look at the way in which they generally respond globally, there's always a fear sell-off which happens. That hasn't yet happened. We've not seen SIPs reduce, stop in any form.
But we are getting questions. Ruhi is asking, with markets turning negative, can we expect people to turn to FDs? And if yes, will that help deposits crunch, which bank stocks can benefit? Ruhi, I hope.
I hope that comes true, because frankly that's the one pain point in the banking system, but Niraj sir doesn't hope so.
No, I'm saying यार FD में पैसा डाल के ना कोई करोड़पति नहीं बना है ना, वो पैसा उससे नहीं बनेगा. I would suspect, I mean, if you are 65, 70 and you need a monthly etc, चलो ठीक है, markets might not be that conducive, but otherwise नहीं यार, not. And I have nothing against FDs, by the way. आपको जहाँ डालना है डालो, FD में डालो, liquid funds में डालो, BAF में डालो, सब कुछ
capital protection है. FDs are nothing but capital protection. और आप real interest rate उसमें लगाओगे तो फिर आप you are not getting any return.
Negative है भाई.
No sir, but the point is not that. I think the point Ruhi is trying to make here is that given this sustained negative momentum, will people dump stocks and say that boss छोड़ो stock market छोड़ो, मैं FD में रखूँगा, वो better है.
Okay, so will that help the deposits crunch? Ruhi is asking that. So, okay, my question is that I believe that, I hope that doesn't happen. Thus far, we haven't seen signs of that. But Hersh, which banks will benefit?
Well, the banks which are currently facing the maximum crunch in terms of loan to deposit ratio, something like an Axis, something like an HDFC for sure, because they are facing the largest crunch in terms of LDR. PSUs are relatively okay, but they are facing crunch on the LCR front, so maybe they also get some amount of benefit. But most banks, especially the large private sector ones, will benefit if this were to happen, because they have good reach, good penetration, and there is a need for deposits over there, where deposit mobilization really helps them in terms of margins. Kotak has proved that in this quarter with the way in which they've mobilized deposits.
Was it a Kotak report yesterday which said that PSU banks have a much better credit profile now compared to private banks?
I'm not sure.
Even I'm not sure.
There was one report which I saw. The improvement in credit profile of PSU banks have gone up actually.
Okay, so that is one question done. Now, because a lot of questions, so let's try and take a bit of a rapid fire, right? Boring self-discipline is asking, can we start taking a bullish stand on QSRs and start accumulating them from now on? Well, yesterday was a report which said that except for Jubilant Foodworks, I think, and I think it was a Jeffries note if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
Okay, except for, I mean, they were not too constructive on Jubilant, but everything else they were very constructive on.
And even the Jubilant analyst meet was not so including, I would say.
But not bad either. The kind of store count increase, etc.
They're talking of doubling of their store count to 3,000 in next 3 or 4 years, which they're talking about. But they haven't, and I think they're talking about the margins going up by 200 basis points in the next 3 years. But and double-digit growth in revenues and profitability. But if you're increasing your store count to double, then double-digit revenue and profitability is too low, in my opinion. Simple as that. That is
given valuation.
Given valuation, simple as that.
Maybe.
So, you know, it could be a very good sign in this market, because इस market में भी वो इतना बता रहे हैं. It's just like ना Nvidia का numbers तो अच्छे आए थे, but it's still bad for the market, right? In that sense.
Fair.
So it's an expectation versus a reality which is there actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, Vigeen Dharan has congratulated me. Thank you so much, Vigeen. Really appreciate. China Q outperform.
We spoke about it, right?
DeepSeek spoke about it.
DeepSeek.
Perfect. dollars go back to America because of Trump tariffs. Dollar demand increases, makes US exports expensive. Higher US inflation, slower growth. US trade will further decrease.
Let's put it in a difficult to answer bucket. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger do that, we can do that too. It's a very long answer to this question. Maybe we can try and pontificate over it tomorrow.
And too many moving parts also.
Too many moving parts as well.
Yeah. Actually, but over the weekend, if you see China coming back and hitting back, and then we can do that pontification.
But by the way, sorry, what we don't mean to say that this question is not worth it. It's just that
it's too complex.
There are a lot of connecting parts to it. So maybe we'll try and take it on Monday first up. But just in because of the sensitivity of time. So please don't mind.
And then, sir, the other thing is also that if each call that each of us are making has a 60% probability that may happen, then the overall probability of the actual event happening just goes down to an, really improbable level.
I would say I'm still a student of the market. You are also a student of the market.
All of us are.
I'm still in kindergarten, sir. So
the great Rakesh Jhunjhunwala mentioned that he was a student of the market at 62, right?
Yeah.
So, well, all of us are. Next one.
Okay. Can we take this?
Nens Gen, is it the right time to invest in low PE, high growth stocks like Rootmobile, Fedfina, Skipper, Orientech, etc.?
Wow.
Names of stocks given, we may not be able to comment on that, but low PE and high growth, is that the way to go?
कहाँ पे है low PE high growth? जितना भी high growth है अभी भी high PE है. Defense जो select defense ले लो, EMS ले लो, सारे expensive हैं.
40% गिरने के बाद भी high PE है.
So if these stocks are low PE and high growth, then you got to ask why is it that they are low PE? Why is it that the market doesn't like them? Because anything that the market liked and was showing very good results, even after the fall is not low PE for sure, if it is high growth. So you got to ask why is it that these stocks are low PE? Then maybe there is some other reason.
No, including the fact that IT, which is today facing the biggest issue, right? It means it's down 4%. TCS of a week back or so, it was at 29 times. अभी गिर के 26 कुछ हुआ होगा उसके अंदर.
But उसका फिर भी pre-COVID rise to earning was 18-19 times. So I'm just trying to say that we're already trading at a very, very high premium compared to even pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID profitability to now it has grown tremendously. But not just in TCS, Infosys or HCL Tech or Persistent. These are the companies which have grown actually.
And hence the 50%
what is nerving them,
also.
One thing which I got from NASSCOM and that number came, FY25 they're going to grow only at 5% in dollar terms. Which we are which means that FY26 is going to be much lower for them, given the kind of baggage they're carrying now. Means they're not, NASSCOM is not talking about FY26 growth, but FY25 का तो बता रहे 5% grow होगा in dollar terms में. So industry itself is growing at 5%, and if you grow more than the industry, so now everyone will have to calibrate that growth rate for each of them, right? $300 billion का रेवेन्यू वाला इंडस्ट्री है, अगर वो 5% ग्रो कर रहा है तो उस 5% इंक्रीमेंट में किसका शेयर कितना होगा?
Yeah, interesting one. And therefore in a single digit kind of growth environment, whether this 28 times or 26 times or 25 times, for example, earnings, and Infosys trades at slightly lesser, and therefore 25, maybe HCL Tech is even lower than that. Whether that is fair or not is something that you'll have to judge and assess.
Pankaj Murarka said he's constructive on Infosys and Tech Mahindra, if that helps. Next question.
Pharma chemical valuation looks extremely lucrative.
Well,
the chemical bull.
No.
Pharma, do they? Sir?
No, I'll tell you. For example, yesterday I'm forgetting the names of the firms, but the global firms which had the Revlimid equivalent, right, with them, they fell massively because their earnings dropped. Some very smart money managers are saying that we will see the same thing happening in a clutch of pharma names in India too. Revlimid starts tapering off in 2 quarters.
नहीं already taper हो गया था last quarter में.
ये वो नाटको के लिए हो गया, बाकी सब के लिए एक दो.
बाकियों के लिए भी हुआ था.
रेड्डीज के लिए मेजरली 2 क्वार्टर के बाद होने वाला है.
ये रेड्डीज के रेवेन्यूज भी रेवल्यूमेंट से उतना खास नहीं थे, गिरे थे.
नहीं, बट फिर भी वो जो शार्प क्लिफ ऑफ द क्लिफ है ना, that happens in 2 quarters for Reddy's, if I'm not wrong. So therefore, be careful with pharma. I mean, buy into healthcare, yes. Pure play pharma which is exposed to the US, just be a bit careful.
Yeah, and so basically you're saying that pharma which is exposed to Indian domestic markets
might be good. CDMO might be good. CRO might be good. Hospitals might be very good. Jeffries ka note hai, Apollo Hospitals near stress case valuations. So all of that is good. But pure pharma, which is exposed to the US, be careful. Lot of moving parts. Tariffs, Revlimid, and some more. So be careful.
And it's done very well. So the pharma index is the top performer in 2024 as well. So I'm not sure whether the valuations are technically cheap.
Is it time to start SIP in pharma stocks?
Healthcare. I'm just saying ये pharma बड़ा bottom up होता है. बहुत ज़्यादा bottom up relative to any other sector, I would presume, chemical and pharma. So don't do a sectoral SIP, especially in these times, is what I would believe. But yeah, मतलब selectively companies, yes.
Can we take this as a lifetime opportunity? Like the COVID time?
thing.
I don't think so.
मतलब
I don't think so.
COVID का fall देखो, ये fall तो अभी तक वहाँ पे है नहीं.
And sir, you know what actually I feel? That COVID के fall के बाद, why are we discounting the fall? Because the rebound was very sharp.
Yes.
You know, generally when markets fall like the way it is falling right now, this is how the pain is. The pain lasts months. You'll have 1 month up and then 2-3 months down.
You know, but the rebound was sharp in the markets, not in GDP.
Yeah. No, not in GDP, sir.
So
not in GDP.
the rebound. So then the same argument can be made that if the central banks and the government put their weight behind the markets, then can they do it right now in some fashion? The RBI is doing that as well. Yes. So why is it that the rebound cannot be swift right now? Answer नहीं है उसका, right? Per se. The rebound can be swift as well. Nobody expects it. But with an assumption that COVID was an exceptional situation and deserved an exceptional response, not every situation will deserve that.
And we are wrong in now comparing ourselves or the current market with COVID, because COVID was a one in a lifetime kind of situation.
Agreed.
कभी आना नहीं चाहिए. But the point is that, you know, we are seeing this correction phase, and I think you and me have seen that. हम तो 5 महीने में अभी people are crying at 5 and we've seen 2 साल तक the Nifty hasn't moved much in that sense, you know, so I don't think
that's what I'm trying to say. Do you think that negative sentiment will get carried forward just because of this kind of tough to say, is it?
Tough to say. The tea leaves that you read is that, by the way, I don't know if you have to wrap up, but the tea leaves is that there's just so much pessimism right now that these are the times when अभी आप मुझे लग रहा है तब तक ये Feb में या March में you will see the SIP numbers getting altered. There'll be some sharp withdrawals, etc. Also, that marks the end of the pain. People then throw in the towel. कि बस बहुत हो गया. Already you seeing professional traders say कि it's becoming difficult to sit in front of the screen, right? We still haven't seen the SIP guy go out.
Correct.
Once that
because
happens,
you're getting 10,000 crores in small and mid cap SIPs, right?
Yes.
That is continuing even in January, and if we see that happening in February, then we're going to see a longer painful period coming in business.
And we've seen the cash pools in these small and mid cap mutual funds not being too high. They're quite low. They're low single digit cash pools. So it's not like they have the bandwidth to hold on if there are redemptions or if the money flow stops, you know, they will have to somewhere start liquidating as well.
But
so
do you
the pain
think
could
the current
well be
breed of investors is different from the breed of investors pre-COVID?
हो
If
सकता
it
है.
is, then they are willing to take the kind of risk with putting in another 10,000 crores in small and mid cap.
देखो एक सिंपल डिफरेंस ये है कि प्री कोविड हमारे पास ये SIP वाला इन्वेस्टर था नहीं, एंड प्री कोविड हमारे पास ऑल दिस SIP इन्वेस्टर, a lot of it is DIY, but a lot of it is also handheld by advisors. जो advisor अभी भी उसको बोल रहे होंगे कि बेटा past history देखो, ऊपर जाता है, पकड़ के रखो, मत बेचो, SIP चालू रखो,
रुपये
एवरेजिंग करो, यहाँ पे और मिल रहा है. It is an advised investor as well, aside of the DIY investor. I mean, hopefully it helps, but who knows.
One question.
Do we have the time? Okay, maybe
so.
one question.
We have one more.
Vigin Dharan has asked, how valid is the argument that banks won't compound due to competition in the space? Which banks are likely to come out as winners if there is competition?
बताइए.
I think the industry leaders would be the winners here in this case, which will be SBI, ICICI Bank in the private space. I still find some pain for HDFC Bank, Axis, but Kotak could be a winner in that sense.
Yeah, could be. So Kotak relatively smaller in size and therefore, in my view, clearly a winner. Even in terms of valuations, Kotak looking cheaper than ICICI, HDFC. So among the other two private sector peers, Axis and IndusInd have their own set of issues, and therefore I won't talk about that. But those also could well be interesting plays because IndusInd is trading at 1.1 times book and therefore interesting one.
Look at
if
the
one
PSU
is
stocks actually, means it's SBI is being one and maybe on one or two.
Bank of Baroda,
Bank of
PNB.
Baroda,
PNB is currently the buzz,
Buzz.
in town.
Yeah.
PNB, Bank of Maharashtra. Bank of Maharashtra again trading at slightly premium.
Yeah, but that's primarily because of liquidity issue, right? In the sense, the government stake is very high, and now they're coming
Correct.
out with the QIP to
Correct.
increase
Correct.
the liquidity. So, वो
Correct.
भी है 2,500 crores का QIP
So,
को जाएगा.
I don't think banking is going anywhere. To be frank, if
I think that's a safe bet.
30,000, 30,000 feet lens. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we were speaking at the NDTV Profit Conclave. We were speaking with Mr. Vaswani of Kotak, and we asked him about profit pools and how maybe banks are evolving in the fintech environment now that there is more stability in the fintech environment. And he said whoever owns the customer will own the profit pool. And we just did some math as well. When the RBI embargo on Kotak was lifted, they have gone in terms of customer count. 2021 was 2.6 crore. 2024 was FY24 end was 5 crore. So they've doubled their customer count in 3 years. What they've done in 30, or rather 20, sorry, they've done in 3 after that. So essentially all of them are focusing on that. HDFC also focusing on that. SBI has limited room there, but the others are definitely focusing on customer count.
All right, let's wrap.
Two things that we
need to
highlight.
wrap.
Yeah, one is the MSCI reject, which is going to happen, and that's going to see some kind of volatility in the last 30 minutes. So be prepared for that. And the second one is auto numbers for February. It looks like bad numbers coming in.
Yes, yes.
So
Very much.
I mean, if you look at the Vahan numbers, it's pathetic is the word which is to be used. The wholesale numbers may show some kind of growth, but two-wheeler numbers are not going to be so encouraging.
3% down today, the auto.
1.8% हो गया Nifty.
While we were speaking.
While
yes.
we were speaking.
बंद करो दुकान भाई, क्या पता हमारा वजह से ही निफ्टी नीचे जा रहा हो.
3.5% down the auto index. Yeah. So pressure clearly there. Yeah.
Yes.
Get cross fingers. Well, just don't be too worried.
It's going to
These
be-
things have happened in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you keep your calm, this could well be very good opportunity to buy and accumulate.
Not COVID-like, but very good.
Yeah, you could start. In fact, I would feel at this point. If
Thank
that's on
you.
the table.
Thank you for tuning in. Harsh, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure being here. Bye, guys.